Minasan, konnichiwa, Hineki Dori desu. In this video, I wanted to go over the essentials of what you need to know in order to use the input box that's available in Anki. It's a preset that's already built into the app, but from there you can add some additional styling code to it to make it look however you want. So to begin with, let's go ahead and go into Edit Card. And the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to activate the text input box. So basically what you need to do is you need to take a field, whatever field is going to be the answer, and all you're going to do is within the brackets is you're going to add type colon. So down here in the preview, on the front preview, you now see the input box. The input box has some essential presets that are already built into it, so you can just kind of work around that and add what you need to it. But instead of adding a div or something to work around it, you need to access it specifically. So this is the coding for it. It's input hashtag type ands. This will allow you to directly affect the input box itself. So here's some and so I'm just going to change some of the basic things. First thing I want to change is the text align obviously is not getting picked up, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that from here, and I'm going to just paste that in there. So now I have it centered. The height is I want that to be a little bigger. Actually, I want it to go ahead and match the bar. The interesting part about this is that it's if I did line height, it would affect the cursor itself. But if I did, in this situation, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the height and just do height by itself. So now we see that the text box is the height I want, and I have centered on that. From there, you'll notice, you might not notice now, but when it was first up, it was kind of visible that it had like a gray border around it. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and remove the border, so that just give it a 0 value. Also, there's one other thing that you might want to be aware of. If I close this and we look at the text box now as it is, you'll see this little dotted outline. It doesn't show up when you're doing the preview, when you're actually building the card, but when you're using the card, this will be on there. This is essentially the outline that comes built into that. I wouldn't say clearly, but I definitely don't like that, so I want to remove that. So that's pretty easy as well. All you need to do is do outline style, and the value is none. So if I go back to it, you can see that the outline is not there anymore, and now I can type out the text. Alright, so I've got my text box essentially the way I like it. There's like one other piece, but I'll mention that later. If I type this out now, you'll notice it does this bit here where it says glorious is in this kind of broken type and things like that. And if we go back to it, I'll show you. This is sort of like the default setting. So and then it'll show you where it's missing and stuff. It's kind of useful, but visually or aesthetically speaking, it's not very pleasing. This is where things can get a little complicated because there's no real way to just in basic HTML change that. However, one of the members of the One Accounting Forum came up with a script, a JavaScript that you can attach to this that'll allow a much more pleasing feature to that, which will allow us to change it further. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. I don't know anything about JavaScript, but it's a working script, so I don't have to do anything extra to it. And this is one of the good things about this. If you can get your hands on scripts that are solid scripts, you don't really need to know what those scripts are, or understand the code behind it. If you're just a simple, I just want to create a card, right? You just have those scripts on hand, or if you can access those scripts somehow, you can paste them in and get them to work. So this one I know works, and I have it in my, I just have it saved. And I'm going to paste it on the back template. So there's a couple things I need to do in order to make this work. Number one, I need to give it what it's going to access is correct, the correct answer. So that's going to be meaning. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that in there as well. And then I need to create what these the correct and incorrect boxes are going to look like. That's basically creating divs for each one. It's built into the JavaScript that it's going to be looking for correct and incorrect. And in this case, what we're going to do, I'm going to start out by showing you this is going to be like div hashtag incorrect. Correct. And I'm just going to go ahead and change. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the background color. So we're going to change that. I'm going to copy paste background color here, and I want that to be red. Red. You can already see that it's changing it over here on the back preview. Now I'm just going to adjust it to get it to look more aesthetically pleasing, I guess. The font family is defaulted to this strange, I would assume, I think it's a courier font. So I'm going to go ahead and pull from the top and get Noto Sans put back into it. There you go. Now we have Noto Sans. I want the text to be white, so I'm going to go ahead and change that as well. And I want that line height to be the same as the input box, so I'm going to change that. Alright, so we're good. That's for incorrect, and now we're going to make one for correct. So I essentially want everything that I have here, and I want to double it up for the correct box. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to change the name to correct, and then I'm going to change the color, because everything else is going to be the same, to green. And done. That's it. That's all we need to do. So now if I go in here, I have my input box, and then if I type out the correct answer, green, exactly what I want. If I go back and type an incorrect answer, red, exactly what I want. Now you'll see here that this is having like a stripe effect. I kind of want it to stand separate from the top card, like the bar that says vocabulary meaning and stuff like that. So essentially now is when I kind of want it to adjust the margin. To do this is actually pretty simple as well. You're going to create a separate div around the type itself, right? So that's the very top here, and I'm just going to create a div for that, or the beginning, the same thing we've been doing this whole time. So I'm going to give it a div class equal, we'll call it inputs, and then close it up, div, and then we're going to go ahead and put that in here. So same thing as before, dot input, just standard div creations that I've been doing for my previous video. And in this case, all I really want to do is I want to change the margin, right? And that's going to wrap everything. That's going to do the input box. That's going to be the red and green. It's going to affect the red and green bars as well. So margin, let's say 10 pixels. Perfect. So now I have it looking exactly the way I want. You got a box, feels nice to use, and that's it. And so from there you can do anything you want, all other styling methods and stuff, as long as you pay attention to those three sections. You have to change it for each one so they're uniform, or you can make them different. You can also um, if anybody's seen any of my previous templates or anything like that, I've added animations and things like that to it to make it look nice, or sort of like play with a little bit more dynamic um, look to it. But that's it. That's pretty much it. This is essentially the most basic aspect of how I build my cards. On top of that, the only complicated portion of this is the JavaScript itself. I will leave a link to where I got the JavaScript from for those who want to access it. And once again, I hope you find this helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And that's it. Matanet.